What would you feel if you had a look in Dr. John's living room? Dr. John is sitting at the piano. He's practicing in the afternoon like he always does. And you would see him fight with licks and fight with his fifth finger and said, damn, wrong again. Doctor, you are such an idiot. How is Christian doing? He would look at one of my tutorials and look at the green keys, and what would you feel? I would love it. Okay, let's stop this bullshit here. Okay, let's look like a grown-up. Why would I love it? Because we musicians, we tend to divide the world into two empires. The gods up there, and us losers. And there's no bridge in between. It's always they who've got it, the gifted ones, the masters. And we who have to struggle every day with every note, and then next day it's all gone again. And this self-image we love to keep. Because, I'll tell you another story. Well, it's not a story, it's rather two sentences. Not even two, it's one. I read, that Oscar Peterson was practicing until the high age 6 hours a week. 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day. And you know what I felt? Relief. I felt relief. This is a human being, is not a god. He's working hard. He's still up there, but we play the same game. It's 5% inspiration, 95% transpiration. Yes. And nobody lets you in on their practicing. They keep it like it's maybe they want to keep up the image of being another being or something. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to let you in on what I practice. So for the reason, of course, let you see what does he practice, shall I practice that too? But also because it's very rare that you can see others practice. And it's a very interesting part because it might change our look on ourselves, because then we see, his fourth finger is also weak. His fourth finger is also weak. He has to do something against it. So, we are all of the same kind. So, hello and welcome. First of all, a word on the different types of musicians. So, sometimes I talk to my colleagues and ask them how they practice, and some say, I don't practice, I just play my gigs, and that's my practice. And some do practice. So there is really different types also. We need to practice to stay in control. Why control? Because if we want to play something, let's say, we have this in mind, and we want it to be there as we like it and not as our fingers allow us. Like, I want it to sound like this, regular, and not like. So, it's about control of our fingers. The control you get from your fingers, you cannot measure in something like this. Something muddy and uncoordinated and just That's what some people think is blues piano. But that is not true. Sometimes you need absolute control because you're working with timing and it has to sound crisp. The best way to stay in control is to stand there naked. Get undressed now. Of course, like in a metaphorical sense. Basically, one bread and butter exercise I did as a kid, I had a strict piano teacher and I still do, is you strip off everything and you come down to the so-called 5-finger exercise. Here you can really see if you can play this regularly, if you're in control of your fingers, just playing 5 notes beside each other. The exercise demands that you also train your fingers, lift your fingers really high, especially these fellas, our best friends, number 4 and 5. These are the enemies of all piano players, everybody, from the gods out there to the biggest loser. So, and make sure it's regular. When it's regular, then you go faster and still have a close listen to if it's still regular. Then you go to, not in order to learn the sharps and flats, but to have all distances in your fingers. Here the distance is, the architecture is different. Then you do, and your fingers have to learn that. Then, if you want to specify, and I do that quite often, for example, you can see I have a scar here. You see, subjectively, maybe objectively, I feel this is even weaker and that my muscle needs more attention here. There's a little bit of numb feeling here, so I'm sort of sensitive to this guy. And pianists are always oversensitive to the slightest thing that is intruding into your regular. So then there's another great exercise. Also, bread and butter, there's not even butter for it. It's just the bread, and it's just really dry rye bread. That's the 5-finger exercise, the bread exercise. And then the trill exercise, which is also looking at the regularity of your fingers, like bam, 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 bam. It's not really so much now about a tutorial of my exercise, just giving you a brief overview, otherwise it would get too long, this video. And then you speed up. You see the weaknesses. You see that you always have the weakness, let's say, from here to go from here, if you need it, or from here to here. So you have to play whatever. This one, for a lick. Then you sit down, you make it an exercise. First slow. Play high fingers, high fingers, high fingers, high fingers. Then you rest a little bit. Then you speed up, and that's it. Then you go next day. These things need time. It's a myth that you should practice everything there is in the world. That's 19th century thinking, academic thinking. I like far more the approach. Practice what you need to practice. Saves time, and we only have a limited amount of time in our life. Very important, economize your practicing. Then, I tell you always, first of all, do I do it daily? I'd love to, and I don't feel really satisfied in the evening if I haven't practiced. It's enrooted in me from my early piano lessons, where you learn that you need discipline to achieve something. So that's a big advantage of taking piano lessons as a kid, that you know there's no success available in one day. That piano playing is not opening a can of beer that you learn in 1 second, but it's something that needs months, and that you have to have regularity and discipline. So I feel always a bit like unsatisfied if I don't practice technique every day. But sometimes I can manage, because I have this bloody blues channel that takes a lot of time. And so then I have practicing periods. I have 2 weeks or something where I like freshen up my gear, my stuff. What is especially needed in blues piano? The wrist, here to stay here, like a feather, you know, like a spring, always like this. So I always, on a regular basis, freshen it up, because I feel like the wrists, I know over the months they tighten up a bit, and so as I said, I have to freshen up my technique occasionally. So I do this, for example, I do something very simple, a scale. Any scale will do, and make sure I'm doing the jumpy jumpy. Jumpy jumpy is also an official term. I think it's from Mozart, he said it. And make sure the same. In the left hand, we needed a lot for. I was just not so long ago. I was finally learning this Dr. John thing, like. You know? And I realized, first, this is putting you under stress. That means the second notes are probably out of timing. Just a little bit to make the boogie boogie stop to groove. Yeah? So you gotta play it like it's brushing your teeth. Nothing there. But then I realized, as I always tell you, the left hand is cheating on you just like your girlfriend, maybe right now. If you play then something like here, something demanding, that I was cheating here. I was doing like. So then I sit down, I focus on the problem, and I made especially sure that, look, even when it's busy, now here, here, that I always do this one right, and always do this one right, my focus on left hand, and then I was slowly speeding up. And here we are in octave territory. Also good to practice is always octaves with a jumpy jumpy. Here. Because this is so important for many grooves that you're good with octaves. It's the James Booker groove. I'm gonna do a tutorial on that one, you know? And of course, you can always do it like, oh, there's a task, I need now the octaves. But it's never the same than if you go into octaves in depth. Do it on your, like chromatically, because when you treat the problem in depth, it's so much deeper in your body and in your brain. Whereas if you practice it on a regular basis, or if you need it, if you play a lot with octaves, if you like that style, that when you need it, you only have to practice a little bit on it because it's in your system, because you did the control thing. You did the control thing, and then. It's there because you did bread and butter. So, for example, you know, we have this money shot that everybody loves, like, and always like this is the very standard to play this, and then roll down, and then do something. And then recently I learned that Dr. John is actually using this, and instead of so he's using this one to make his way down the octaves. He's playing this one. Hold on. So, another way of getting down, and that is part of the Dr. John style. And then goes on. So, and I learned this one from him too, recently, only recently. Do do this with 2 fingers. Hard to play, but it sounds dirty. So I find these new details and I have to practice them, especially because now I'm also not 25 anymore, I'm 27, and my paths are, they have been used a lot. So to integrate something into my play takes time. Because my style has molded already, but I'm still hungry to learn new stuff. And then after a week again and again, that I can use it. Usually we say there's a between the time of practice and before it finds its way into your play, into improvisation, it's like 2 or 3 months. You practice something in dry mode, and then you integrate it into your improvisation, where you're coming from a totally different point, from here, and then use it. It takes a while until it comes up in the stress of the timeline of your improvisation. No, I want to show you doing an exercise that I do quite regularly, and that is, in order not to fall into patterns, into old patterns, there's an exercise I love. That is, for example, you play, let's take the money shot again. This is a lick that is well known and is played very often. And I don't want this to be always, but have different shapes. And that makes the play colorful and makes it different from others. And there's an exercise that is called the variation exercise. Well, very genius name. So, and that is, play that lick different every time. You put your counter on your timer on 2 or 3 minutes. You play it once, you leave a bar empty, and you play it again, but in a different way. I show what I mean. First, regular. Now, I recollect this, what it sounded, because if I have to play it in a contrasting way, I have to remember what I just played, and I do that in the empty bar. Here, this one was different. Now, it's the same lick. It's what Dr. Jan always says is, one lick is not one lick, but 100 licks. Fats Domino would play the lick very different, like. You see? And Dr. John would play it, I realized, uses the octave to make it harsher. You see? Many play it. He plays it often. As I said, he has a very rich play. He's playing never the same. Or you can play it here. Not this one. Here. Instead of, you play again. Or yes. Or so, and this is excellent, and it's like doing push-ups. Like for me, push-ups, I manage about 160 in one turn, and it starts to burn with 161. And when it's burning, that's where you build up muscle power. And in the brain, in many respects, works like a muscle. In many respects, works like a muscle. So this is push-ups for your creativity. And when you don't, first you will only find one way to play it and finish. Then, you look at my tutorials and you find out, there's another way. I did this exercise also in a couple of my tutorials. Nobody's really interested because it's work. It's quite frightening, you know. Sometimes I show you the good stuff and people are just not clicking because it's work. So, and yes, but then after 5 times, or after 1 minute, then you, oh damn, I played all the possibilities. And now I don't. There's more. There is about 1 zillion more. So enough of my weaknesses. You shouldn't know too much of those. But lastly, I will show you one more weakness, my bad taste. You see this? I ordered that, but I don't like it. Maybe it's a bit too feminine. And also silk. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I might just as well use it for one tutorial. So that's what I'm going to do a lot now. Just order expensive stuff, use it once in my tutorial to offer good visuals, and then send it back. Now you can, as usual, you can subscribe here or choose another video. You can also donate money down there if you like. And wish you a good day. Now go practice. Bye bye. Take care.